He's no nonsense, speaks his mind, says what you're thinking, and other horrible cliches. Stand Up with Pete Dominick.
Indy, Sirius XM 104.
All right. I'm really happy that our next guest is here. He's a listener to the program, used to listen to us in the afternoons, and he's called a couple times. Last week he called, and he was really made some very interesting and I think thoughtful remarks. And while he was talking, I wrote down his phone number. I can do that. I'm like my own little NSA here. Your numbers come up when you call, folks. Sorry. Anyway, I gave him a call. I told him I would, and we talked for a while after the show last week. And I invited him to come on the show and talk a little bit more about his life and his job and what he's doing now. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a U.S. Air Force veteran. He served during Operation Desert Storm. After that, he spent 10 years in upper management experience, companies like Pepsi Cola, CMA, CGM of America. And then he shifted his focus to education. He's worked in instructional leadership roles on the campuses of Norfolk State, George Washington University, and Prince George's Community College. And then he began working at the what's called the Maya Angelou Public Charter High School, where he is now a assistant principal. Worked his way up there, and he's the school's dean of students, I guess. Are you both of those things, or one then the other? He holds a BS and a master's degree, bachelor's and a master's in communications from Norfolk State University, and his wife is also an assistant principal at Prince George's County, and they are the proud parents, as he told us last week, of 6 children. Mr. Stephen Fostor, I'm so glad that you were able to join us this morning. Thank you for getting up early and calling in.
Good morning, Pete.
You are the assistant principal of the Maya Angelou Public Charter School in Washington, D.C. It's a very special school, very special program dealing with what population?
So we deal specifically with the disenfranchised youth here in Ward 7 and Ward 8, and all over the District of Columbia. In 1997, our founders, David Domenici and James Foreman, they wanted to create a space where students would not be held back because of their past. Our founders were public defenders, and they were accustomed to seeing students who would get in trouble with the law, and then when they got sent back to school, the cycle would repeat itself. So the idea is, hey, let's find out what's getting them in trouble. Let's find out what they need, and let's focus on that and get them to that path of success.
How do you classify quickly a young man? Is it all boys?
No, we're co-ed, so it's boys and girls here.
So how do you classify a young man, young woman as disenfranchised? What are the type of criteria that needs to be met to get into the school?
So the criteria for disenfranchised is too wide for me to even discuss within the time that we have. We actively seek out students who, when I say haven't been successful in other school settings, students who have been expelled from other schools, students who have been suspended for a myriad of reasons, whether it's fighting, drugs, truancy, all different types of things that keep that student from progressing as the average teenager in America would progress. And so our average student here is anywhere from 3 to 4 grade levels behind in reading and math. And so we have a very small window of opportunity to get those students from where they are to where they need to be to either receive a formal education, learn a job trade, or go out into the workforce in some type of way.
And talk to me about success stories there at the school. We're talking to Stephen Fostor, the assistant principal at a school in Washington, D.C. called Maya Angelou Public Charter School. It must be amazing when you see students leave and succeed.
And Pete, you know that it's true. This is not an ezy job at all.
I can't imagine just working in any school with all well-behaved children, students of means, much less a school like yours where you literally go out and try to find the, quote, disenfranchised and fill an entire school with it. We most of us can't imagine what you deal with every day and how difficult that must be.
And let me say this, Pete, if we didn't do it, who would? You know, there are students who are out in the street, literally, who have been kicked out of schools, and that's a whole cohort of teenagers that are not getting what they need, out getting in trouble. Somebody has to be there for them. And I think that's the big difference between our school and other schools where, like you say, you have well-behaved students who want to do well and who know what they're doing, right? So you have to, if you work here, you have to have the heart of, I want to help these students. If not, the students will see right through it. You're here for a paycheck. The biggest success story that I've had, when I first started here, I started as an English teacher, and I had a young man who was in my class that just refused to do anything. He would come into the class, he would put his head down on the desk. I would try to get him to do work. He just wouldn't do anything. If he did wake up, he would be a disruption in the class. So I worked with this young man and worked with him, and I leaned on my peers. Hey, how do I get this young man engaged? Once I got to know him, once I found out what he liked to do, I infused what he liked to do with the daily lesson. I made him my errand guy. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you run this down to the office for me, right? And so between that and the counseling group here, you fast forward to today, 2013, this young man is a cadet at the D.C. Fire Department. He's taking classes part-time at a community college. He comes up to the school, a source of help for him when he gets to a part in the academy where he needs help in and he needs to study. The teachers help him out as much as possible. And, you know, when I saw that guy walk across the stage and I knew that he was going to the fire academy, there's no money on the planet that could substitute that feeling of knowing where that young man came from and knowing where he's going.
That's true wealth.
Wealth
of spirit.
Yes, sir.
That's amazing. When you look at, and I'm going to be coming down there the first or second week of September, and I'm coming to the school, and I want to be introduced to these kids, and I want to learn more about the program. And Stephen and I talked about this off the air, and I'm really looking forward to that.